अब सवालों का सिलसिला शुरू करते हैं और इसके लिए मैं बुलाना चाहूँगी यूटीआई म्यूचुअल फंड के फंड मैनेजर कार्तिक राजन लक्ष्मण जी का। और हांडा जी, आपसे भी अनुरोध है कि आप स्टेज पर रहें और हमारे स्टूडेंट्स की क्वेरीज को एड्रेस करेंगे भी। तो बहुत सारे सवाल होंगे आपके, बी प्रिपेयर्ड। और इतने अच्छे प्रेजेंटेशन के लिए एक बार फिर से बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। Okay, people, we are ready. The floor is open for your questions. Please go ahead, one by one. पहला क्वेश्चन, IIM लखनऊ में एक एक करके हाथ उठेंगे ही, है ना? पहले जी, आप अपना नाम बताएं और फिर सवाल पूछें।
Hello, I'm Shashank. This was a wonderful presentation that you made. I just had one simple doubt. I'm in support of investing and everything. I do it myself. But when you talk about such a long period, when you talked about 1 lakh investment at 1979, which became crores, how would you consider time value of money into that? Also, when you look at the events that occurred, which was 2008 crash or the COVID crash, the emotional turmoil, that is the emotional cost of carrying those capital, how do you factor it in your investments?
Karthikraj?
No, so basically time value is captured there. Ankur did talk about the inflation aspect as well there. The idea is, as long as your returns are higher than inflation, you're creating wealth. You've rightly highlighted what you need to look at is the real return, and that is nothing but whatever returns that have been reported, you reduce the inflation in that. Ankur did talk about both the inflation which is reported, which could be a consumer price index, or the lifestyle index. The lifestyle inflation could be higher than the normal inflation which is reported, because you're buying probably a more luxurious item than what you would have done 10 years back. So this wealth would easily take care of that. I mean, the compounding that has happened in the past would take care of both of these inflation comfortably. Now, आपका जो second part है on the crashes, one thing is certain in markets. Crashes will keep happening, boom and bust will keep happening. I mean, everything goes through a cycle, whether it's a business, whether it's markets, you will always have cycles. So the way to kind of solve for that is longer term. That's why we are saying कि आपको लंबे समय longer term के लिए invest करना है, because you never know whether the bubble is 1 year out, whether there is a crash 4 years out. No one could have predicted COVID. Whosoever was the biggest expert would not have been able to point out that this is the crash that we are heading into when we got into 2020. So उस हिसाब से you have to take it for granted कि ऐसे crashes आएंगे. At that time, if you are having asset allocation, you have exposure to other assets also. Maybe you can shift into the asset class here, which we are discussing is equities. Equity सस्ता हो गया तो you can shift from say fixed income or gold into equities at the bottom so that you get better returns. So that's the way to kind of manage for this volatility. You cannot wish away this volatility. वो तो रहेगा ही. That is why, that is the risk that you are taking for which you are getting the extra returns. It's always, I'm sure आपने पढ़ा ही है. I mean, there's a risk return curve. Higher the risk you take, you expect a higher return. Here the risk that you are taking is uncertain return, for which you are eligible for a higher return than what a fixed income or a fixed deposit product would have given you.
नहीं, एक सवाल हांडा जी मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी। जो क्वेश्चन इन्होंने पूछा ये काफी जनता पूछती है कि 20 साल बाद 1 करोड़ की वैल्यू क्या ही रहेगी, 10 साल के बाद क्या ही रहेगी। तो इसकी वजह से इन्वेस्टमेंट को लेकर एक डाउट पैदा होना बहुत स्वाभाविक सी बात है, और इसको लेकर आपका नजरिया क्या है?
So, you know, when you talk about this aspect wherein cost value क्या रह जाएगी, when we talk about retirement, you know, it's always calculated on the percentage cash flow which you can generate from that corpus. Okay, so we spoke about inflation, और जो maths कहता है वो ये कहता है कि of course, rupee value giregi, but you have to invest in those avenues which can, as Karthik rightly said, कि जो आपको inflation adjusted returns दे सकें. Just to put numbers in perspective, for example, let's say if you are doing a 4% withdrawal at retirement on a corpus of 1 crore, which is 4 lakhs, but your investment is at giving you 8 or 10% kind of return, right? Inflation अगर 4-5% है भी, तब भी inflation plus your withdrawals is 8-9%, right? And that's what you are making in your investment also. So your principal is not degrowing. You are taking out some money and the investment is also adjusted. Second aspect, what he touched upon is asset allocation. And that's very important because while you retire, you cannot have 100% or 80% equities. You need to have a proper mix between fixed income, equity,
Portfolio
commodities,
diversify.
diversification you can say. So, ये रहेगा, you know, cost value आएगी picture में, but you have to design it in a way that once you retire, whatever age you plan to, you are sufficient to have money every month from that reservoir, which I shown, till the age of 80, 85, whatever the life expectancy is.
Okay. Next question, please. किसी के अंदर कोई सवाल नहीं जी.
Hello, sir. My name is Sakshi Rai. You mentioned that you have invested in one of the stocks for almost 16 years now, which means that you must have gone through very unpredictable times like COVID also. So, in black swan events like these, where it seems that everyone is losing money, what is the parameter that you use to decide whether you want to withdraw your money or wait out the period?
What's your name? I missed that.
Sakshi Rai.
Sakshi. So, shall I? So, Sakshi, it was not stock, it was a mutual fund scheme, number one. Number two, asset allocation is the key for my investment portfolio. So, if I've started an SIP and I know that I have to run it for next 20-25 years, I will not stop it in between. At UTI, we have done certain studies also, you know, it's COVID times and subprime crisis times, wherein if you have stopped the SIP, the kind of return which you make after 1 year, after stopping your SIP, is far less than what you would have made अगर आपने वो SIPs continue कर ली होती. So, as I said, discipline is something which has to be there in your investment. It's the nature of the market. वो ऊपर जाएगा, वो नीचे जाएगा. You have to continue with your investments. You have to ensure कि आपकी SIPs बंद नहीं हो और आप एक proper asset allocation follow करें.
तो निकालने के बारे में सोचे ही ना. जब ऐसी
सोचना ही
कोई
नहीं.
situation
मतलब
आए.
you. So I remember there was an ad of a bike. Fill it, shut it, forget it. I will not name it, but that's how you have to treat your investment. Fill it, shut it, forget it. उसको चलने दो.
Okay. Next question, please.
Hello, sir. My name is Pankaj Goswami. My question is, all of us here, you know, in some days, gonna go out and earn our money and gonna manage our money. So, what should be the sequence? Should we save first, or should we invest first, or should we, you know, insure ourselves first? That was my first question. Another question is, if at all given a chance to you to design a curriculum for a B school like us, for a personal, you know, finance education system, what are 3 different concepts which you would like the future managers and leaders to know? Thank you.
Karthik. Yeah.
Right. So the first question was, sorry, I mean just...
नहीं, इनको अगर सेव अभी ये कमाना शुरू करेंगे तो कैसे अपना पैसा मैनेज करें?
Right. So क्लियरली आपको आई मीन वॉरेन बफेट का जो एग्जांपल है वो बोलते हैं कि आपको कितना सेव करना चाहिए वो पहले डिसाइड करना है. 30-40%, अंकुर ने भी अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में बात किया, 30-40% आपको पहले सेव करने के लिए निकालना है, उसके आगे यू कैन स्पेंड. आई मीन नो वन इज सेइंग अगेन दैट कि आप स्पेंड ही नहीं करो, सारा सेव करो, बट आपको सेविंग्स पहले स्टार्ट करना है एंड the earlier you start, much better. आपका first salary से या first income से अगर आप start करो तो आपके लिए बहुत better होगा, so that you can plan your retirement earlier. Again, retirement is not like we are saying कि उसके आगे आप काम ही मत करो. It is financial independence. उसके आगे भी आप जो चाहिए वो कर सकते हो. But आपका जो financial requirement है, that is already taken care of. इसके आगे आपको passion जहाँ लेके जाए, आपको जो करना है, you are free to do that rather than a day job that you have to do whether you like it or not. So that's the financial independence that we are talking about. So उसके लिए आपको आज plan करना है, start early. And take out the savings amount first. उसके बाद जो बचा है उसको आप spend कर सकते हैं. Again, related to that, the concepts that you need to again know is very basic. कि आपको savings पे ध्यान देना है और portfolio diversification या asset allocation. You can't put all your money in one asset class, whether it is equities, whether it is fixed income, whether it is gold. आप सारे के सारे एक asset class में नहीं डाल सकते हैं. Generally trend ये देखने मिलेगा आपको, once you start investing, people will say now gold is the best thing to invest in, तो सारा पैसा इधर डाल दो. Maybe if equities does very well, everyone will say probably you should put all your money there. So that may be a wrong advice. The ideal way is at any point in time you will need to have a balanced portfolio, which will again depend on your risk ability, your wealth journey, your expectations, your goals. I mean आपके goals क्या हैं? आपके 10 साल बाद कुछ requirement है marriage के लिए, आपको retirement के लिए कुछ requirement है, children's education के लिए, तो वैसे goals के हिसाब से आपको save करना पड़ेगा. जो near term goals है उसके लिए probably you need a fixed income instrument which gives you certainty. जो longer term है उधर you are expecting equity to cover for your inflation. One of your colleague friends asked earlier, the inflation needs to be covered. Equity is known to kind of cover for that. Going by the past returns. So that's something that you need to look at. Start early, invest and step up the investment. क्योंकि आप starting में आपका जो salary होगा या income होगा 5 साल 10 साल बाद it would be manyfold of that. To that extent you need to increase your investments also. That is something that you need to do. Insurance, like you highlighted, is a requirement, and insurance here is pure term cover that you need to have. 5 times, 10 times of your annual income is something that you need to cover whenever you start your income journey or your career. So that is a requirement, it's not an option. You should ideally be insured right from the time you start your career.
कार्तिक, कोई रेशियो है सेविंग, एक्सपेंस और अम्यूजमेंट, ऐसे बैलेंस करना है तो कोई रेशियो होगा?
No single ratio, but probably ballpark number 30-40% savings is good to start with. I mean, आपका जैसे salary या income बहुत बढ़ते जाएगा, maybe your savings could be 60, 70, 80% because your expenses may not increase so much, but initially it could be a lot higher. So to that extent, I mean, there's no single ratio, but maybe start with a 30-40 kind of investment.
What was your next question, Pankaj? Can you give the mic, please? Yeah.
If at all they've been given an opportunity to design a curriculum for a B school like us, for a personal finance, education, what are different concepts, specifically 3 or 4 that you would, want us, future managers to know?
Right. Like I said, portfolio diversification or asset allocation, start early, invest first. These are basic concepts, I think, which you need to know. You need to cover up for inflation. Inflation is going to be here. So to that extent, you need to cover up for that. So any asset class which gives you returns better than inflation post-taxes, you will be paying taxes once you start earning. So post-tax returns is something that you need to see. That should be able to more than cover up for the inflation that's there in your lifestyle in the economy. So that's some of the concepts that you need to know. Whether you're a finance background person or not, anyone who is starting with their career will have to know this much. They need to know the basics of managing their own finances. And you can, I mean, obviously you don't have to invest directly. That's why you have professional setups. You can always, if you can't invest directly, you can always invest through a professional setup like a mutual fund.
Okay, next question.
Just to
please.
add what Karthik said, one thing which as a advisor we always suggest is always have a 3 to 6 months of your expenses in liquid form. So the moment you start working, invest it in a way that 3 से 6 महीने का आपका महीने का खर्चा आपके पास हैंडी होना चाहिए, चाहे वो
Emergency funds.
इमरजेंसी फंड कह सकते हैं आप उसको, या whatever you want to call it. So you have it, you have insurances, whether it's medical or life, then you start your SIPs and build your portfolios, then follow asset allocation, how Karthik said.
Next question, please. I am Lucknow में सर सब आता है इनको कोई questions नहीं है. Sir, just a second, mic आएगा. अच्छा, हाँ, you go ahead, sir. Will come to you. Yeah, please ask.
So, I was looking into investing and I did invest in some ETFs actually. What is the difference in how these work, ETFs and mutual funds?
No, I mean, ETFs are also another instrument of mutual fund. I mean, you can have a fund where you have an NAV and you can participate in the journey. Or ETF is something, it is traded like a stock. So you can buy it during the day at any point in the day. The prices can move up and down, but it may have an underlying portfolio. I don't know what ETF you have bought, but say any sector ETF or whatever. So the underlying stocks will decide how the ETF's prices are moving. It trades like a stock, but it is in effect a portfolio in behind. So there's not too much difference from the end outcome, other than that you can sell it at any point during the day. While in a mutual fund scheme, you will get the NAV of that particular day and you will redeem it at that NAV. Yeah.
Next, Mike. Sir, yeah.
So with your experience and observation, which one is a better option to invest? Real estate, that is land, flat, or this SIP or mutual funds?
Maximum number of questions. You know, people ask this question is very important.
Land, it's a micro market thing, first thing. I mean, good that you asked about land and not probably a house or something, because wo jo construction hai, that is a depreciating asset, and probably land is the real asset which whose value would go up. आपका आज का construction probably 15-20 साल में you need a renovation of that, so that's a depreciating one. It's the land which could be an appreciating asset, but it's lot more micro market dependent. There is no single answer. There could be instances, some places someone has made 100x in real estate कि उन्होंने 20 साल पहले पैसे invest किए और वहाँ से बना. But majority of us would be looking at buying a flat or something where part of it is a depreciating asset and part is maybe appreciating. That too also often we've seen that the appreciation is not so great. Anyways, there are indices for the top 7 cities, how the prices have moved up over a 10-15 year period. So it's probably unless you know a micro market where it is very cheap, आपका बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा बनता नहीं है, and you also have to factor in for the illiquidity cost, the transaction cost. I mean the amount that is involved, the stamp duty, and the ease with which you can sell a real estate would be a lot more. I mean, it will be a lot more difficult compared to other asset classes like say equity or fixed income. So, I mean, you need to have all asset classes. I'm not saying no, especially a house that you need to live in, वो तो आपको buy करना ही पड़ेगा. I mean, wherever the locality that you're willing to buy, वो तो लेना होगा. But when you're looking at it from an investment angle, you have to factor in for this illiquidity, you have to factor in for the transaction cost and see whether there is a potential for it to generate long-term returns. Many cases you've seen that probably other asset classes have done well, especially equities has done much better.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Karthik, thank you, Mr. Handa, for addressing the queries of our students. Thank you so much.